We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, August 12th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Cheska Tae-ho.
Happy Tuesday, everyone!
Happy Tuesday! Also, Wonbi's with us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's Tuesday, which means we're going to begin with our keyword news where we look at a story that has been gaining traction over the past 24 hours. And today's keyword is SOON. With less than 60 days to go until this year's Chuseok holiday, people in Korea are already making plans to make the most of what's being called a 10-day golden holiday. According to travel booking platform Skyscanner on Monday, the keyword for Korean travelers' Chuseok holiday plans is SOON. So S stands for short haul, meaning travelers are leaning toward nearby destinations such as Japan and Southeast Asia. The first O is for optional, reflecting a preference for flexible trip lengths. So rather than spending the entire break traveling, many plan to leave time to rest before returning to work. The second O stands for optimistic, meaning travelers are willing to allocate a bigger budget than usual. And finally, N stands for new normal, with many respondents saying that traveling during the holidays has become a standard part of how they spend the Chuseok break. So Wonbin, how are you planning to spend the 10-day holiday? And if you haven't made any plans yet, what would be the ideal way to spend this year's Chuseok holiday?
Well, first of all, I'm very surprised that we get whopping 10 days
of
vacation for this Chuseok, which is amazing. However, unfortunately for freelancers like me, it's very difficult for us to recognize this long official holiday as an actual holiday because we don't have any specific working days or working hours. You know, when we're working, and when we're not working, regardless of the day or if it's a weekend. However, I do think that most of my students or clients will request for a break during this Chuseok due to this SOON soon trend that you just mentioned. So if to introduce my ideal holiday, it would be to go on like this nice, beautiful cruise trip, maybe even domestic one or somewhere in the Caribbeans. I've heard that they actually don't have any Wi-Fi on the cruise, which is very hard to find nowadays, but it's, you know, I think it'll be nice to get disconnected from the world for once and just enjoy the calmness. And for the viewers, there are also actually some cruises that depart from Korea. So if there are any Koreans who are willing to travel on a cruise ship in Korea, that would be very convenient as well.
Just out of curiosity, is there a reason why you prefer to travel by cruise instead of a plane?
Yeah, so for example, it depends on the destination, but actually there are some cases where it would be more convenient to take a cruise to travel multiple cities or countries in one trip. And also, I thought very concisely, I thought it would be cruise was something where seniors or people who retired would go on there for like 6 months or 1 year. But when I did some research, I realized that there are actually some shorter, exciting trips where a lot of young people and families can enjoy as well. So there are many options actually.
So what about you, Cheska?
I was just like Wonbin. I can't believe we actually get 10 days. I think that's quite exciting. But ideally, I would love to travel and jump on the soon trends. But given my past experience, I actually live alone in Korea and my families all live abroad. So Chuseok to me was a time that I could spend completely by myself in Seoul. And I actually noticed it's quite gloriously peaceful.
Yes.
Because everybody, as we saw in the soon trend, is the new normal. They want to travel outside of the country during this Chuseok break. There are lots of freedom. I can bike freely, I can walk freely. There's absolutely no traffic and no people on the street. So while the Seoulers are out there enjoying their 10-day break, I will protect the city and keep it safe until they come back.
That's actually really smart. I feel like it's a great opportunity, like you said, to enjoy time alone in Seoul, which is usually very
reverse psychology.
Yes,
exactly.
The delicious emptiness of the city is just amazing. Yeah.
So whether it's a short haul getaway, a longer trip with plenty of rest, or simply enjoying time at home, it looks like everyone is already gearing up to make the most of this year's Chuseok in true SOON or soon style. And that concludes our keyword news for this Tuesday. So as we head into the second day of the work week, we're diving into the trend of doing things alone and how more people are embracing independent lifestyles like Cheska. So let's take a look at the screen to learn more. With the number of single-person households reaching a record high last year, the solo lifestyle trend is no longer just a passing phase. It's a reflection of how our values and lifestyles are changing. People are no longer shying away from doing things on their own, and being alone isn't stopping them from living life to the fullest. In fact, many are actively embracing solitude not as a sign of loneliness, but as a form of independence and self-care. From dining solo to pursuing hobbies, traveling, and even celebrating special moments alone, this shift is reshaping everything from consumer habits to social norms. So today on News Generation, we're diving into the world of solo living, what it looks like, and why it's on the rise. So as we just saw, living alone is becoming more common than ever, especially among younger generations. In Korea, this shift has sparked a whole lifestyle trend known as the 혼라이프, combining the Korean word 혼자, meaning alone, with the English word life, and it's influencing everything from how people eat to how they spend their free time. So for today's main discussion on News Generation, we're diving into this growing solo living culture and what it says about changing values in our society. So Cheska, I know you live alone, so what's that experience been like for you? Do you enjoy the independence, or has it come with some challenges as well?
Oh my God. Okay, so whenever people ask me about what it's like to live alone, there's a common phrase I always use. I call it independence is the price tag of freedom.
Oh, that's great.
So, that price tag sometimes can get really hefty, meaning there's a saying among single households that every breath costs. 숨 쉬는 것도 돈이다.
Well said. Well said.
Right? And everyone who's watching who's living alone would be able to testify, including Wonbin, because nothing gets done around the house unless you do it, as simple as picking up like a tiny piece of crumb on the floor. But for me, living alone has been one of the greatest experience for self-introspection, revelation, and actually discovery, because I think there are certain things that you only learn when you completely isolate yourself and live by yourself, and sometimes those things are good and sometimes they're quite unexpected. You don't realize the side of you that comes out when you completely live alone, and I think everyone should at least have one opportunity to experience that for themselves. Yeah.
So what's one thing that you've learned? Like, have you become more responsible, or is there anything else?
Oh, everything from being more responsible to being more childish.
Being more childish and not more,
because I feel like I really want the support from my parents, so I become more clingy.
Oh, so you value it more.
I value it more, yeah. I definitely become more clingy when I'm with more people, but also because I have to be more independent, I become more responsible when it comes to doing things alone as well, yeah.
I see. So how about you, Woman? Do you live alone too? And do you get the sense that solo living is becoming more popular these days?
Yes, so I do live alone. I live in Gangnam and I live in a studio. So I live in a studio in a big city. So I think I'm a very good textbook example of the increasing single household nowadays. And because I do fit the textbook criteria, I think I am definitely feeling this increasing trend in single households or 혼라이프. One of the reasons would be urbanization. Urbanization is definitely a big global factor for this trend, as you know, it encourages younger individuals to move out from their family and move to the city, and expensive rent fees in the city makes it very difficult for us to find a very big, large space to live if we're not married. And on top of that, if we look at a reason specifically in Korea, I think that individualism is growing more among the MZ generation. And as we all know, individualism includes this strong desire to have a separated, detached, private space that goes beyond your own room in your house. So it is definitely an increasing trend, and I do feel it a lot.
Right. So solo living, like you mentioned, is definitely on the rise, especially in big cities, like you said. And along with that, we're seeing an entire culture kind of evolve and build around it. So, Cheska, have you seen any or noticed any interesting trends or habits that are part of this solo living lifestyle?
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned before, but also according to Statistics Korea, as of 2024, single-person households make up almost 40% of all households, which is, I think, the largest share on record. And as more people live alone, the so-called 혼놀 trend, which means enjoying leisure activities alone, is also on the rise. And in fact, the pandemic, I think, also played a pretty big part, as more members of the MZ generation really got used to either going to cafes, watching movies, and literally doing things that make them happy quite alone. And this social phenomenon is reflected in some restaurants and cafes that actually started to accommodate for these kind of people by placing these big plushies in opposing seats. I even saw a lot of mirrors plastered on the wall.
Whoa.
And single person sitting or bar style tables that are becoming much more common. And as someone who definitely enjoys these 혼놀, like a alone activity, I actually personally enjoy all of these accommodations, because I know Wonbin reacted when when I say we have mirrors on
Mirror.
the other side of
I
the
can't imagine what that would be like.
You guys don't understand. It's so nice to see yourself when
You actually enjoy seeing yourself eat. I feel like I would be like, I need to stop eating. Like, this is not the vibe. Like, I'm not the best looking when I'm eating. You know what I mean?
So you'd be like, I'm actually eating that.
Like, why can't I stop? Like, do I need to stop? But, yeah.
It makes you feel like you're not completely alone, and it's almost like you get to spend the time with yourself. Stop laughing, Wonbin.
Okay.
How do you feel? Would you like that? Would you like to see yourself eating?
I've seen where we sit in front of the window so we can see people like
When you
walking
sit in a
by,
row,
but
right?
Window, no, the mirror is, I've never heard of that. I'm not sure if I would feel comfortable in that environment.
I think that's the thing I would purposely try to avoid. But I mean, I guess you would feel less lonely.
Yeah,
Because you see yourself.
Exactly.
You feel accompanied.
By myself. Yeah.
So what other trends have you noticed, Wonbin?
Well, speaking of the mirror, I can't answer this question without mentioning 혼밥 trend, which means eating alone. And this is basically because more people are living alone, more and more people are eating alone as well. And to get a better understanding for this trend, I brought statistics, so let's take a look at the stats. So we have a chart from Statistics Korea showing the percentage of people who eat alone. For context, for each category, the brightest number on the left is breakfast, and then the middle is lunch, and the right is dinner. So for people in their 20s, we can see that 59% of people eat breakfast alone, including myself, and more than 30% of people are eating lunch and dinner alone as well. The numbers are a little bit lower for 30s, coming in at 46% for breakfast and 24% and 25% for lunch and dinner, respectively. An additional fact for the viewers is that compared to 5 years ago, this is an increased rate of 6% for people in their 30s and 10% for the ones in 20s. And in my opinion, the cause of this is not because of a specific negative reason, but eating alone becomes more natural when you don't have someone to eat together regularly at your home. And eventually, when you eat alone enough, you even become comfortable having meals all by yourself.
Well, I agree. I think eating alone in the beginning, it's hard, but once you get used to it, sometimes I kind of prefer that, so I can relate to that. So eating alone is definitely one of the key parts of solo living, and in Korea, there's even something called the 혼밥 level that measures how comfortable you are eating alone in public. Cheska, have you heard of this, and what's your eating alone level? How far can you go?
Is that a challenge? I'm ready.
Are you ready for the challenge?
Yeah, the level apparently goes from like the beginner to like the middle to the expert, but then there's the master level in Korean, which call it 고수 만렙. I think I pretty much reached the peak very early on. Yeah, I peaked very early. So when I lived in the States, I had absolutely no problem going to restaurants or eating by myself. In fact, I actually enjoy basking in that moment completely by myself. And I remember I even took myself to like one Michelin star restaurant completely by myself so that I would have no distractions and no people beside me and I can just be with myself.
Enjoy the experience.
Enjoy the experience. There was no mirror, by the way.
Good to know.
Maybe that helped, actually.
Yeah, the Michelin restaurant hadn't adopted the mirror strategy yet. But here in Korea, I've done it all quest by quest. I think the ranking goes from like a fast food to like buffets, going to bars, even though I don't drink, grilling meat alone. So I actually believe that eating alone has become an experience, and I truly enjoy and appreciate the new accommodations that are being adopted in the restaurant, including like plushies and tables, because there are people like me who are increasingly choosing to eat alone. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned buffets because I think for me, when I studied in the States, like, you know, all the dining halls are buffet style.
That's very true.
Whereas
Yes.
before, like in Korea, I couldn't imagine going to buffet by myself. But doing that, I feel like I think buffets are actually pretty nice going by yourself.
Right. You train, and then you're able to.
And then you
actually
go, like you said, quest by quest. So what about you, Wonbin?
Well, for me, the most notable place that I went to alone would be like a 한식 buffet, which is like an affordable Korean-style lunch buffet. It's usually somewhere where people would go during work for lunch, like with your teammates and everyone, just to go get like a quick cheap meal in and out. But for me, I quite like it to go alone. So whenever I go there, the restaurant is always full with Korean office workers, a little bit dressed up on their own tables, but I'm just the only one. But personally, I don't mind eating alone as well. Like sometimes it's pretty nice to have a company when you're eating, but once in a while, I think it's definitely enjoyable to have a meal in peace.
I agree. So Cheska, so aside from eating alone, alone, what are some other solo trends you've come across? I heard this whole solo living movement goes beyond just daily routines, even showing up in how people enjoy their vacations, right?
Right, we talked about the soon traveling style, but it's only natural, right? The biggest part of pleasure is eating and then traveling. So solo travel is also becoming quite big. Previously, traveling was thought of as a group activity. You find a friend, schedule lineup, and jump on all together. Now on social media and even on news outlets, you see a lot of vlogs, reels, and people talking about solo traveling experience. And Japan has been very well known for these kind of travelers. Even Europe backpacking or any type of backpacking is a big solo traveling trend. And I personally have genuinely loved traveling alone. And you get to really experience it fully and freely. And I can go to all the countries by myself, and you experience it just more when you're by yourself as well.
Exactly. So how else is this solo trend showing up when it comes to people's hobbies and free time, Wonbin?
Yeah, so as you just said, solo hobbies are definitely becoming a big thing now. In department stores, you can see new stores and sections targeted for single households, and they actually are showing great performances with a 20% average annual growth rate. One example that I have is drones and other camera equipment. So, Cheska just mentioned solo traveling, but drones allow us to record dynamic videos when we're traveling alone. And these action cameras and different camera equipments also do a great job at capturing our trip without a sweat. And there are a few more categories, but one thing that they have in common is that you can do all of them alone. You don't need anyone. Unlike traditional hobbies like sports, you don't need a partner or a team to do the hobby. So solo hobbies are becoming a new trend.
So like you've pointed out, it's clear that more and more people are embracing time alone, and as solo living becomes more normalized, it's clear that spending time alone is no longer seen as something negative. In fact, many people are actively enjoying it. So to get a better sense of just how common this shift is in everyday life, we conducted a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel where we asked, what do you enjoy doing alone the most? So 17% of respondents said they most enjoy eating alone, while 5% prefer drinking alone. A large majority, 70%, chose solo hobbies such as working out, watching movies, visiting exhibitions, flying drones, or filming. Meanwhile, 8% said traveling alone was their favorite way to spend time by themselves. So to get a more global perspective on this issue, we'll be speaking with someone from overseas who's currently living alone here in Korea. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Nina, who's from Finland, but is currently living alone here in Korea. Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So what are some solo living trends you're seeing in Finland, in your own country?
Well, the solo living trends, they focus on housing mostly. So in Finland, it's really common for university students and young adults in general to live alone. And many young adults, they move out even as soon as they finish high school, so at 18 earliest. And therefore, small and efficient housing has become popular and very sought after, especially in the bigger cities.
We're talking about a lot of solo living trends. Do you personally prefer doing things alone? And if so, why?
Yeah, I enjoy doing some things alone, especially because it gives me more freedom over my own schedule and decisions. And I'm very introverted as well, so I enjoy time alone.
I see. So what do you think are the pros and cons of spending time alone?
I think the advantages are that being alone, it really allows for self-reflection and personal growth space, and just pursuing hobbies without any compromising. But then, however, the downside can be that you can feel isolated and you might miss out on some kind of emotional support and shared experiences with others.
Great. So thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just heard from a young person shared her personal experience and thoughts on solo living, and it really highlights how this lifestyle is becoming more normalized. In particular, it seems like young people are embracing solo living more than any other age group, not just out of necessity, but as a conscious choice. So Cheska, why do you think this lifestyle has become so popular among younger generations today? Like, what's driving the shift?
I mean, I have to mention COVID, the pandemic, because it really gave us, in a weird way, an opportunity to finally be with ourselves, completely isolated, and really spend time. But also, I think our generation definitely values this time away from the world to unplug and really plugged in solely to ourselves, because it gives us that peace of mind that we really need. And MG generation truly value our time. So I think that was a combination of those factors that came into play.
Right. So, Woman, how have people's attitudes have changed over time?
Yeah, so there was a big shift in social perspective as well. In the past 10, 20 years ago, doing things alone, such as like living alone, not getting married, or like just hanging out by yourself, it was considered, regardless of being right or wrong, it was considered a little bit embarrassing or a little bit shameful sometimes, antisocial. But in 2025, more and more people have different personal preferences, and everybody respects that. And on top of that, there are many media or TV shows that portray the glorious life of living alone. So that is helping people to normalize that people are living alone as well.
Right, but of course with any trend there are pros and cons. Are there any concerns that do you want to talk about, Cheska?
Yeah, absolutely. I think seclusion to recharge is really important and sometimes quite necessary. But if we use seclusion to avoid or deny the reality, I think that can be the cause of many, many problems. I think we live in a society where a lot of people have to engage, and I understand that everybody has different limits and capacity of social energy, but purposely going out and meeting people and understanding empathy and social engagement, I think, is really important in our generation. So if we try to do that a little by little, I think our interpersonal skills would also increase. Yeah.
I think sometimes it feels hard, but like reaching out to people first is a good way to, like you said, to keep these relationships going.
Exactly. Yes.
So do you have anything to add to this one?
Yeah, just very briefly, one thing that I'm concerned about is the potential loss of our community. In the past, because everybody had like big families, it was very normal to neighbors to socialize, know each other, hang out during special occasions. But since individualism is kicking in and more people are enjoying the single lifestyle, it can get a little bit dangerous for us to, for people to not know each other, and that could become the new norm. So as long as we're a little bit considerate to still be connected with your neighbors and still to maintain a community, I think everything's going to be okay. But that's the one concern that I have.
I'm glad you pointed that out. So as today's discussion shows, the meaning of spending time alone is changing. It's no longer something to avoid, but something many actively seek. So whether it's eating out on your own, traveling solo, or just enjoying a quiet night in, more people are finding joy in their own company. But at the same time, it's important to remember that while enjoying solitude can be empowering, maintaining emotional connections with those around us is just as vital. So making sure that people in our lives aren't feeling too lonely and regularly sharing feelings and experiences while celebrating our own independence will help keep our relationships strong and our communities healthy. So we're conducting a program survey that includes News Generation until August 17th to better meet our viewers' expectations. So please visit us at www.arirang.com or on the Arirang TV mobile app to share your valuable feedback. And by participating, you'll also have a chance to win Bluetooth earbuds and exclusive K-pop merchandise. So this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation, but News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Big thanks to Cheska.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
And Wonbin.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have the best day. We are
News Generation.